Welcome back to Cottage Designs by Erin, where I found the pattern called Made in the USA by Ayetna Sitar. And so I am going to show you how to make the quilt behind me on the wall using this pattern. I've worked on this all morning, cutting it out so that I can start a new project with you. So I'm going to move the camera to my hands now. I have in this very large cake pan the pieces cut out for this quilt. For the background, you're going to need a 7 by 7.5 inch blue. The short strips are going to be 1.5 by 10, and the long strips are going to be 1.5 by width of fabric. Now, the very first error that I found in this pattern, which I'm sure it's the only error, and I remembered from making it last time, it says to cut the blue 9 inches long. So let me show you the difference. This is the 9-inch piece, and this is the 7-inch piece. Well, if you follow the pattern the way it suggests, the rest of it, which is to sew your strips, there is no way you can attach this to that, to the long piece. So you're going to need a 7 by 7.5 inch piece for your blue background, and when you pull your seams apart a little bit, it will fit. Okay, so for your strips, it's important to pay attention when you make the short sections, and the reason being is you have to get this part right for the rest of it to be correct. You're always going to start on red, so you're going to have 4 reds and 3 creams. You sew those together, and then it says to press it towards the red, which I've done. Okay, so now I'm going to sew the background piece to the strips. Let me get my sewing machine up here on the table. And I'm going to pin it today because I want to try to keep, she wants the red strips pressed towards the red. So I want to try to keep my strips pieced in the correct direction. Okay, we're going to sew that together. All right, now I'm going to take my pins out. And you can see that we have the top part of the flag made. All right, now, if whatever color you ended on, you're going to begin on the next color. And I'm going to go ahead and press this piece towards the blue. Let's see where to put my ironing board. Okay, so if we ended on red, we are going to start on cream. So the reason I said to cut the rest of these pieces with the fabric is because there's no need to cut it to a particular inch. You just want it to be as long as whatever you have here. So this part's fun because it's actually pretty mindless. You don't have to give it too much thought. So we are going to have 3 creams and 3 reds for the bottom half of the flag. I don't like that frayed edge on there. Let me cut the frayed edge off. You do need to make sure that if you're using red fabric, that you have washed all of it so that it does not run. There's a lady at Quilt Guild here a while back. She said, "Oh, I never wash my fabrics first." Well, I'm telling you, that is a very dangerous procedure. I have ruined quilts before by getting in a hurry and not washing the fabric first. Especially if it's red, you need to always wash your red fabrics. And throw a cup of vinegar in there with it. You don't have to have those fancy dye catchers. If you throw a cup of white vinegar in the wash, it will preserve your color. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sew this in a strip now. Okay, then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to cut it off even with the blue. Save all your little scraps because this morning, just cutting this out, I had all these little pieces. Don't ever throw these away because then you can use these to make maybe a matching little miniature or something. All right, next I'm going to go back to my tray of fabric. And I need a long strip, so I'm going to pick one of these on the bottom. I have them in order. Now, some people are highly offended. They don't like to mix the white with the cream. I don't think it really matters because if you notice on the quilt on the wall behind me, when I bring the camera back up in a minute, the colors are going to fade anyway over time. So it doesn't really matter what color you use. You're just trying to represent a scrappy flag. And if you want it to look even more primitive, you could take this outside in a #2 wash bucket and tea dye it. And that would give you your grungy primitive look. Okay, we have to attach 3 reds. So I know that we have to put on a few more strips here. In all of my quilts I make my grandsons, I include a polka dot. Because I love polka dots, so they know that if it's a Zsa Zsa quilt, my grandma quilts, then it has a polka dot in it. And so now it's become a big game. And when I make them a quilt, they said, I bet I can find the polka dot. And they always want to look for the polka dot. So I never ever make them a quilt without a polka dot. And my little boys, they like polka dots and they like flowers and they like all of it. I just don't, just because they're boys, I don't think things have to be gender specific. They like it all. Really, I think what they like the most is knowing that I made it for them. Where these little strings came from. Okay, so that's 2 reds. We need 1 more cream and 1 more red. Some women like to keep track of how many prints they put in a quilt. I mean, that's a fun idea. You can see how many scraps you could actually use to make this. Okay. 3 creams, got that. 1 more red. Let me put my big strip back in my cake pan. And this first block I'm making is not as scrappy as it could be, probably because I haven't cut everything out yet, but they will get scrappier as I go along. cut my strings off the end. Recently, a lady messaged me on here and she said, you are so wasteful with your thread. Your threads are entirely too long at the end of your projects and blah, blah, blah. She went on and on. And I told her that was really the least of my concerns in life, having my threads too long, because I have a lot of thread. All right, so now we're going to flip this over and we are going to iron or press these seams towards the red, just like we did on top. Let's see here. I need to iron my stars a little bit better. So here's our finished block. Be a pretty pillow too. It makes a very generous block. Let's see what we got here. It is 13. Somewhere in here it told me the finished size of the block. (13.5 by 18.5). All right, that's what I want to make sure we do have that. Somehow mine ended up 13.5 by 17.5. Oh, it's because her top piece was larger. That's why. Okay. It's still going to work just fine. So then here's what you're going to do. You're going to make 15 of these blocks. Okay. You're going to sash them together with 3-inch wide muslin or cotton fabric of your choice. Now, let me bring the camera back up. Here is mine. My daughter's complaint with this was that it wasn't wide enough on the sides, and she would like a little more on the top and bottom because she likes to cover their pillow in it. So she asked me on this one to, instead of making it 3 inches all the way around, make it at least 4 so that we'll have a little bit extra. So here's your finished block. Very pretty. Let me show you again the cutting measurements. I decided to start labeling them like this, so in case I say it wrong. My last video, I said it wrong. I corrected it several times, but I'm sorry that happened. I tell you what happened. I was used to making that canning season quilt, and everything was cut on the 1/2 inch. And so I said 1/2 inch instead of 1/4 inch, but then I corrected it in the description box. So let me show you again. Your blue background piece is going to be 7 by 7.5. You're then going to use 1.5 by 10 for the short strips and 1.5 by width of fabric. Whoops, sorry that you have to see the hole in the pan. That's why we're using it for this. 1.5 by width of fabric for the long strips. You're going to make 15 blocks, sashing them 3 blocks across, and she used 3-inch wide sashing strips. I'll probably use 3-inch in the middle and then on the outside, because my daughter wants it a little more generous, maybe make it 4 inches on the outside. So this is a super cute pattern. I mean, it's fun to make, and like I said, as long as you get the top part correct, the bottom part is mindless. Then you just sew width of fabric all the way across and you come up with your block. So I hope you learned something today. Please like and subscribe and come back for more. Thank you.